All right, now time for our sports with Nandi as we continue with our focus this week.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mfundo. You are correct. We are continuing to put the spotlight on child abuse during this Child Protection Week. Sadly, there have been a number of cases of child abuse in sport. Now, Women and Men Against Child Abuse is speaking out on the issue and holding a media conference to try and put an end to such occurrences. eNCA sports reporter Hloni Mthimkulu is at the briefing in Sandton and joins us from there. Good morning to you, Hloni. A very important and incredibly serious topic that has been delved into today. What can we expect from the media briefing? I know it hasn't quite begun yet.
Yeah, good morning, Nandi. So the press conference does begin in about 20 minutes time at 10:30, and as you said, it is a Women and Men Against Child Abuse press conference. Within WAMACA, they have a division called the Athletes Against Child Abuse that was started about a year ago, and if you remember, at that launch or around that time, they did start speaking out about historical cases within, I think it was swimming, and so Luke Lampert, who is one of the co-founders or one of the directors in charge, joins us now. Luke, just first of all, I know that you will be detailing all the cases that you've uncovered or that you are dealing with in the last year. How prevalent is the situation in the country?
So the abuse of young people in sport is extremely prevalent. We have to recognize that often sport allows people access to children that they ordinarily wouldn't have access to. It allows for the blurring of personal and professional boundaries and body boundaries, and as a result it's a very high risk environment, and we are seeing cases coming out now that have happened over decades.
And we've spoken to Olivia, your colleague, in the past, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, in terms of what is being done or what is not being done by federations. Obviously some of them are historical cases, and I guess that kind of complicates things, but what is the response from the sporting fraternity?
Well, there's been two major responses. The one has been that they will find any reason to say it is actually not their responsibility, like the one case we had, the coach and the young person knew each other through the sport, and then when the investigation was done by the federation, they said, oh well, they weren't in their tracksuits and they weren't in that environment, therefore they have no jurisdiction, without then referring them on to be supported by the necessary organisations. The second response has been that we bring cases forward and then they say they want to investigate, but in order for there to be legitimacy to it, they need us to report it to the police in terms of the law. So we say, no, we're happy with that, but you should have reported it, which you didn't do, but we're happy to report it. And then the minute we report it, they say to us they can't do anything because now it's sub judice because the police are investigating it. So largely it has been just a complete sidelining of victims in favour of the supporting of the federation, and in the case of very prominent coaches, the reputation of the sport as well as that person, the coach concerned.
What needs to be done to protect children?
The strange thing for me is that I would think it's guttural for us to protect our children. And what we've had to do is we've had to legislate. We've had to make it mandatory to report child abuse. We've had to take SASCOC on like we did during the Olympics. SASCOC then told us, please take the heat off us because, we're getting heat from Parliament. We've been to Parliament. Now, why should we have to do all of that? Why should people not just simply be the eye on the child and protect the rights of children, as we as adults should do? We talk about the children being our future, they are our present. And if we mess it up now, we will reap the rewards for years to come.
You talk about SASCOC and about Parliament. I know that it has in the last, I would say, 6 months or so, come up quite a bit in Parliament Sports Portfolio Committee around safeguarding. Are you happy with the response that you've even had, even from Parliament, and just in terms of the administrators around sport?
Look, I think Parliament has been exemplary. So when we first wanted to approach the political principles in terms of sport, we were tied in a strange knot by SASCOC, because SASCOC was saying to us, listen, we don't really want the politicians involved because the International Organising Committee doesn't like it to be political in sport, it must be fair. And we were like, okay, we don't quite understand the system. I still don't understand the system. We're doing it for a year and I still don't understand the system. And what happened was then, when they went to Parliament, they just simply didn't tell the truth. So I think what the next step in terms of the parliamentary rules are is how they're going to hold the federations and SASCOC accountable for coming to Parliament and misrepresenting what has been done. So I think that will be the next is if Parliament has any power over the federations and SASCOC to actually enforce anything. I think that's going to be the big test. We wait to see.
and that certainly won't be an easy or short process, right? That will probably be something that goes on for quite a bit of time. And Nandi, that was Luke Lamprecht from Women and Men Against Child Abuse. He told me earlier that they have in the last year talked about 37 cases to do with child abuse in sport. As they say, they have a division called Athletes Against Child Abuse within BAMACA. And this spreads across different sporting codes. There's hockey, there's water polo, there is swimming, there's gymnastics and other sporting codes as well. So we will wait to see what they have to say to us at 10:30 and what happens over the next few weeks and months as they continue dealing with child abuse in sport. Nandi?
Yeah, Hloni, absolutely right. Luke says something so important about why we're even having this conversation when we should just be protecting our children. We will be catching up with you again. Hloni Mthimkulu chatting to us as we continue to bring an end to the scourge of child abuse. That's all from me for the moment. Mfundo, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Nandi, for that. To this